Hey, Steve with Texas Know-How here. Have my daughter's 2009 BMW X3. It's the xdrive30i. It's the E83 engine. We're doing an oil change today. It's been about 7,500 miles. I try to do it every 7,500. I know that the manual states for longer, but I like to do it more frequently. Let's get started. First of all, we want to pop the hood. Come in here, pull this lever out. Find the lever underneath the BMW emblem, push it up, pull up the hood, go over to the oil drain fill hole, counterclockwise, open it up, put the cap off to the side, just let it breathe, and that will create a vacuum when we drain it from the bottom. Also, keep in mind that I drove this car around the block, warmed up the engine, so the fluid is going to be hot, but it's going to be very fluid. Okay, I'm below the car, underneath the engine compartment. You can see the passenger's wheel over there, front wheel. Usually there's a cover here, or there's supposed to be, for the oil drain plug. This one, the cover was never there when we bought the car. It's gone. It's just exposed. The bolt is recessed in there. It's a 17 millimeter. I have my splash mat and my drain pan underneath it. I have my ports open so it can drain and breathe. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. Make sure your pan's directly underneath. Because gravity is about to take over. And here we go. Okay, it's pretty dark, somewhat transparent when I put my finger in it. It's a good time to be doing it. Like I said, I do this every 7,500 miles. BMW says like every 10 or more, so I'm not into that. You can see how dirty it already is at 75. It's mainly this is mainly city driving, but you know what, I wouldn't feel good about having this oil any longer past this point. Let's let it do its job. I'm just gonna let it drain completely. I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee. Okay, well that's while the oil is draining completely out below. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the oil filter housing and replace the oil filter. This is how you do this. Now, this is a screw. It's a lefty loosey, righty tighty. I had to buy this special tool I bought it on Amazon. Can't remember how much, but probably in the range of about $10 to $15. What it does is it slips over the housing. You put a ratchet on there, and then you're able to screw it off. There we go. Okay, so as this housing comes off, I'm just going to put like a little bit of some little towels around here, because sometimes some oil spills out of it and it goes inside the engine compartment, and it's just kind of a pain to clean up. So slowly, it might have a little suction to it, and then there we go. And then there is your dirty oil filter. Okay, so I'm just going to lay that off to the side. It's good to have like a lot of old t-shirts and underwear or whatever, towels sitting around. Okay, so a little bit did spill here. I'll just clean that off. And as you can see inside the little housing there, it's all that old oil. I'm just going to get like a rag, a clean rag, and dirty it up and just kind of get that old oil out of there. I don't know if that's actually really necessary, but I'm going to do that. So I'm going to clean this area up a little bit. Okay, and then I'll be right back. Now that the housing compartment is all clean, I want to go ahead and get my new filter. I buy the OEM BMW filters, 1142.7, 953, 129. It has everything that you're going to need, aside from the oil, of course. It has your 2 gaskets, and then your washer for your drain plug. And it has your paper man filter. I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side for right now, and disassemble the old filter. Alright, so all you basically have to do here is just take the filter cartridge and pull it straight out. It's going to be sopping with oil, old oil, so make sure you have you set it on a dirty rag. And I see some oil inside here, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that out here before I reassemble the new one. But before I do, let me go ahead and take off my 2 rubber gaskets. There's one on the top here, the small one, the green one. And these are best taken off like a screwdriver. You can also use a pick, but you can see you kind of have to manipulate them. My concern is that something might pop into the filter opening, so I'm gonna go ahead and cover that. I would hate for this little rubber gasket to do that. That's not gonna work. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go get like a little pick. Okay, I'm back. I'm going for one little pick instead, so I can have a better grip underneath it. There we go. Much better. Makes all the difference when you have the right tool. Okay, so there's the first one. You don't need to keep that. And then notice the orientation of this one. It doesn't actually sit at the very, very bottom. It actually sits in the groove right above the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and then pull that off. We don't need that either. That comes with the filter kit. I'm going to clean this filter off and I'll be right back. Well, I have this filter housing nice and clean. I made sure I cleaned around the inside and also the groove of where the gaskets go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up these new gaskets. Be careful, some of them are very small. You don't want them dropping into the engine bay. And then I'm just going to save I'm going to take my 2 gaskets, and then I'm going to save my washer and just put it off to the side. Okay. Let me go ahead and start by putting the small one on. I have some fresh motor oil here. I'm just going to dip it in there, and then I'm going to place it up and over and around until it sits into that groove that I took it off of. There we go. Now I want to go ahead and get my larger rubber gasket, dip it in some fresh motor oil, and then remember, I want to put it on this groove right here on the bottom, not the very, very bottom, but right above it. So there we go. There's one side, and then there's the other. Follow it all the way around, make sure it's into the right groove all the way around. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and get my filter. And I took it out. When I took it out, it was riding side up, facing me. So I'm going to keep that orientation. I really don't think it matters which way you put it in, but I'm just going to keep the same orientation. It works for me. Now listen to the pop. Okay, pops into place. There you go. So now you have your 2 rubber gaskets on and your filter in place. You're ready to put it back into the housing. Okay, now we're ready to reinstall our filter and our housing. So all you do is take it, place it directly above it. Be careful not to cross thread. Start hand tightening it until it becomes resistant. Then you want to take your special tool, place it over, and screw it down tight to 25 foot-pounds. I'm sorry. Scrap that 25. It says 18 foot-pounds. There it is. Hear that? 18 foot-pounds. There's that. So this filter has a tendency to stick into place. It's just slightly off, so sometimes I have to just manipulate it like that. All right, there we go. Now we're underneath the car again. We need to reinstall our drain plug bolt. You want to clean it off nicely with a rag. Get all the old oil off of it and the threadings. Make sure there's no grit or grime on it. Then you want to take off your old crush washer, and then you can throw that away. You won't be using that. At this point, you want to install your new crush washer that came with your oil filter kit. You're going to reuse this bolt. I'm going to clean up this area down here as well. There's been a lot of drip and splash. So I want this as nice and clean as possible. Since I don't have a cover, I don't want any drips of oil in my garage or on my driveway. And then make sure you have your crush washer, your new crush washer installed. I do. And then you want to start it out by hand. Screwing it in. Remember, it's righty-tighty. Go in, screw it in, and until it stops. Then you want to get your torque wrench, and you want to lock it down to 18 foot-pounds. Give me 1 second. There we go. 18 foot-pounds, the same foot-pounds you use to lock down that filter, oil filter housing. There it is. There it is. Now that we have our oil filter installed and our drain plug reinstalled, we want to fill up our engine with some good motor oil. I use the Pennzoil Euro L full synthetic 5W30. That works best for my climate. That's what the BMW recommends for me. That's what I'm putting in here. I'm going to fill this up to 6.9 liters, 6.9, and then I'm going to check to make sure that the gauge reads okay. Okay, as you pour your motor oil, pour it from the side. I think it's displaced easier that way. And pour it slowly. You don't want to make a mess in your engine compartment. I'm going to put all 5 quarts in here, and then I'm going to go to fill up an additional 1.9 quarts. Look at that golden goodness. Beautiful. There we go. Now that I've filled up the engine with 6.9 liters of oil, I want to replace my cap. If your cap looks a little dirty with oil, you might just want to just dress it up just a little bit before putting it back on. Make sure there's no dirt or debris on there. Okay. And your cap goes on clockwise a quarter turn. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then you want to start your car, bring it up to normal temperature, and then check your oil. Okay, so the car's been idling for a few minutes. You see it's in normal operating temperature range right there in the center. I'm going to go ahead and check the oil. There's 2 buttons on the bottom here. I'm going to select the one on the right. It's one quick click. Oil will pop up, and then it says OK. If it's overfilled, it'll go past that line on the right. If it's underfilled, it won't go quite to that line. So you need to, if it's overfilled, that's no good. You need to go ahead and release some oil out of the bottom, which is a pain, but you need to do it because it's not good for your engine to be overfilled with oil. And if it's underfilled, you need to go back and fill up a little bit. I would do maybe like a half a quart at a time, okay, and do a reading. And then if it's still low, another half quart, do a reading. That's how I would do it. All right, hopefully this was helpful to you. Here's to doing it yourself, saving some money and learning a little bit about your car. Steve with Texas KnowHow, over and out.